Hey guys, thanks for checking out my video. My name's Stuart Wilson and this is my vlog daily number 1, and in front of you here you can see there's a concept of 4 houses. I've just quickly painted this up in Photoshop. This is just as a visual style guide for myself for when I'm creating the various houses here. So I'm going to be building them in 3ds Max and I'll be doing the texture in Photoshop. I could maybe use ZBrush, but for the purpose of this project, it's because I'm aiming it mostly as a mobile game based project. I'm trying to stay away from ZBrush so I can focus on just creating high quality textures, so I don't need to use things like normal maps or cavity maps or any fancy maps like that, just purely diffuse texture. So the way I'm going to show my process is going to be through a time lapse. So this time lapse will last for roughly about 5 minutes or so. It's been recorded over a 4.5 hour period, so I'll be showing you the process that I'm going through. Hopefully you can maybe take from it and see a few things, but this is just a kind of way for me to record what I'm doing and trying to keep a kind of log of how I'm getting on and things like that. So we'll jump straight into the time lapse, and as I play it I'll be explaining what's going on and just my sort of thoughts and what I'm doing at the moment in time. Okay, so I'm blocking out the first house here. You can see in the top right that's the concept of the houses. It's actually the second house there that I'm building. So I'm initially blocking in the shapes just to try and get the right kind of look and feel of the second house there. I'm also considering how the house would be built and put together. So on the roof there I'm using individual bits of wood that will then hold the tiles. Then I look at the wooden posts that actually support the house, and I try to duplicate these objects as much as possible to save time. And since it's from a mobile and this will be seen from a distance, you know, I'm not getting too detailed with the objects here. I'm just putting in enough there so there's enough definition. So I use the FFD modifier there. That's where you'll see the kind of orange box like that shapes the house. It's really good if you want to sort of twist and pull your objects. It's really handy for that, especially with the houses here. So I've just built the door there, and then I've moved on to the windows. I was going to put frames in there, but I took them out because I thought, well, I'll probably just paint that in with the texture. So I keep adding more trim details and things like that. And I start looking at the tiles as well. So I create 3 tiles with 3 different variations. Then I move on to each of the rows, again just duplicating, pasting. Then I move the tiles about just to try and create some nice variation. And finally with here I just add the chimney just to create some more visual interest. So then I move on to the next house. And I'm just kind of roughly working out the kind of shape to make there. So this is actually the house 1 on the concept at the top right. So I'm blocking in the kind of the wall area at the bottom. So I'm trying to create variation with all the different houses, but again I'm wanting them to look as though they belong in the same area as well. So I'm just cutting out the middle there so I can fit the door in. And again I'm looking at the house beams, so I'm trying to put them around the house, get the structure there right. And then the kind of upper kind of bedroom area, if you would call it that, I block that in, and I'm kind of looking at how I can add the roof that kind of extends out, and then finally I add more tiles again. So it's just the same tiles, but I'm just moving them about because I mean you're not going to notice them when you're looking excuse me, from far away. Again, just looking at the top of the roof, looking at the topology there, and then that's done. So we're then on to the third house, which is the third concept picture. You can see the top right there. Again, it uses a lot of the wall materials like the second house there. Again, I'm making the roof tiles, trims, and then windows and doors. So you can see there's a little door detail here just to kind of make it different from the rest there. So I'm trying to make it all very consistent, but also making sure that they have different styles as well, just to create some sort of visual variation there. And you see we've got the next chimney there as well, but again that's different. Then just then there I used the FFD modifier to make it a bit smaller. And finally I look at the fourth house. So since I've built a lot of these houses already, I'm just using assets from the previous houses, and it's pretty much the same process. Just using tiles, creating variation there, using the beams and bits of wood from other houses, and then just creating something quite interesting. And I mean, at the same time, I'm trying to think in terms of if this is going to be played on mobile and how well it's going to look, and how it'll look from afar as well. So I'm kind of thinking of all these different things while I'm building all this, and as well as the texturing stage, which I'll move on to next. But at this stage we're blocking in the houses at the moment. So this is the last house, and I mean, it's the kind of window panels and all other variations I've put in there as well. So next I'm throwing the houses into Unreal Engine 4 just to see how they're looking. So before I move on to UV mapping, this is what I like to do. I like to just throw it in a game engine, just see how it looks. Occasionally get kind of shader problems, or maybe there's vertices that are not welded together, things like that. So in here I'm just using Hedis UV layout, which is great for UV mapping. So I just quickly UV map the tiles here. Because there's so many of them, what I do is I like to just duplicate them knowing that they've been UV mapped, so it's a lot less work in the future, in the next steps of when I'm looking at the texture. So yeah, this is me just looking at the shaders and making sure the house looks right. But I'm replacing all the tiles here with the UV mapped ones, so I'll need to do it with all the other houses. And this is kind of the first steps in the UV mapping, and that's what I'll be working on in the next daily vlog. And that's pretty much that. So hopefully that's been sort of been a good insight for you into what I'm doing there. So I'm gonna post up another vlog tomorrow, and I'll be looking at the UV map staging and the UV map stage, sorry, and then I'll be looking at texturing as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon.